CBC does not belong to the Liberals, it does not belong to the Conservatives, and it does not belong to any other political parties. It belongs to the Canadian people. And this is why, to be able to give CBC Radio-Canada the means to fulfill its mandate, I propose that it be financed directly in the legislation instead of in the budget through statutory appropriation.
We've got a video here of Heritage Minister Pascale St-Onge saying that the Liberals want to enshrine in law the role that CBC Radio-Canada plays in the fight against disinformation. The role, they want to entrench it to support the public, especially in the current context when they're almost out the door. So we've got a little video of that.
Enshrine in law the role that CBC Radio-Canada plays in the fight against disinformation to support the public, especially in the current context. And this refers directly to some of the recommendations that were made by the Foreign Interference Commission, which repeated how important it is that Canadians can rely on Canadian sources of information to be more resilient and to understand the patterns that the other countries use to disseminate propaganda or disinformation to influence how we live together and our political context. And this is why I propose to anchor in CBC Radio-Canada's mandate its role in helping the Canadian population fight against disinformation and understand fact-based information.
Oh my God.
Drea, on Wednesday, Sheila Gunn-Reid and I were just discussing the latest initiatives by a group called Honest Reporting. And they routinely, and I mean routinely, almost every week, take CBC to task for its misreporting of what's going on in Israel. I can tell you CBC and the BBC are probably the biggest offenders in the world of misinformation and disinformation in terms of what's going on in Israel, to the point that, and I'm not kidding, I'm not making a joke, I'd rather get my news from Al Jazeera than CBC and BBC. They're continually called out in absolute lies. They do a retraction, they do an apology, and then a week goes by and they're back to their old biased bad habits. So for Minister Pascale St-Onge to say that CBC and Radio-Canada, they play a leading role in the fight against misinformation. Yeah. That's a little rich for me, Drea.
Well, we saw what happened during the COVID times, but another example of this is the burning churches. I did a report sort of rebutting. They came out saying that there's only been maybe 30 church arsons, and that is so not true. I did a whole report sort of nitpicking everything that was wrong with that. But since then, we now know, thanks to federal MP, oh gosh, I'm forgetting his name, how horrible, but the order and paper question, that it's been over 460 churches that have been attacked by arson since 2016, 91 alone of those in the year of 2021, when the false claim that there had been 215 children's remains were discovered. And of course, the bulk of the 460 is from that point and on. So to tell the public, oh, look, it's no big deal, it's only 30. Well, first of all, 30 would be horrific if that's what it was. And it's really numbers like this. I mean, that shows you just how, where the misinformation is coming.
Yeah, unbelievable. And I got to tell you, Drea, how many people do you know in your circle that exclusively get their news from mainstream media, legacy media, however you want to call it, as opposed to going to alternative forms of journalism online? Because I don't know anyone, and the people I come across typically as misinformed protesters at demonstrations tend to be very, very old, even older than me.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Unfortunately, in my life, it's the elderly people whom I love and respect so dearly that just have the news like rolling, like it's just on 24/7. And if I have to go visit them, like I want to vomit. And I'm like, hey, do you guys want to change the TV? Because they trust what the news used to be. The news used to be that impartial source of what's going on, not weighing in their opinions, or I should say hiding their bias, pretending that they're not totally biased. So they still have that trust for it. But if you look at the studies as far as younger people, most people are getting their news from headlines, which still is mainstream news. Most people are just on social media, reading the headline, maybe the subheading, maybe a little bit more. They don't even make it to the bottom of the article. And that is very dangerous in itself, because whatever they pack into that initial thing is what a lot of people are taking. I think the stats are around 70%.
Wow.
Oh, hi, it's Ezra Levant here in Toronto with an important message because we need your help. Independent journalism in Canada is under attack. Government censors, big tech deplatformers, and the dying legacy media are all working together to maintain exclusive control on the information you receive. They don't want you to hear other voices like ours, and they really don't want you to be informed and to think for yourself. That's why the work we do here at Rebel News is so important. Our on-the-ground reporting, independent news shows, and special content you won't find anywhere else. It's all designed to give you trustworthy information and alternative viewpoints so you can decide for yourself. We don't get government money, and we are not owned by some big global conglomerate. We're funded by people just like you, so please support independent journalism and help us continue our work by subscribing and becoming a Rebel News Plus member today, right here on the page. Go to rebelnewsplus.com.